Hey folks, George Leoniak, and welcome back to New Geometry. Today's going to be a really fun video. I've got a poll that's going to be on what's your favorite perspective or view from the three main views that I often share sacred geometry in. That's going to be in the community section. And I have a quick slideshow set up to talk about these different views, and then we're going to switch over to the Zomepad 3D simulator. And I'm going to show you how these mandalas from these three different perspectives come alive as three-dimensional forms. So stick with me through this one. It's going to be really interesting and pretty neat. I'm not going to share what form where it is we're looking at right away, but I'm going to get to that when we get to the 3D simulator. But first, I want to start off with the PowerPoint presentation and talk about the three different views and just describe each of those just a little bit. Okay, so we have the three different views here that I often describe, and there's a geometric design in the middle of each of these, which is actually the same 3D form. So when we get into the Zom tool simulator, you'll see as I manipulate this around the object in 3D, you'll see that this is the same as this and this. All three are the same. So, you know, we have this square view, I often call it, the two-fold symmetry. We've got this hexagonal view, which is built on the phi circles, the golden circles, seed of life design that I've been working with. And then we've got this five-fold symmetry pentagonal view over here. So let's show you what each of these look like just with the templates by themselves. Now you could fill out the square view here with more circles, more phi relationship circles, but I just put the ones in there that were really necessary for constructing the form that I showed you previously. And here's the three-fold or six-fold hexagonal view. With the phi ratio circles and an additional one added here, a couple additional ones to create the design, and also the pentagonal view, also adding a few extra circles to build it all the way out to the fullest version. So as I'm discussing this and describing it, I want you to just kind of feel into, you know, which of these views, these perspectives that I'm sharing with you, you know, really resonate with you, because I love to get your opinion in the poll. So now when we just focus on the forms themselves that I've chosen for this experiment, we've got the square view here. This is the form that I'm unnamed form at this point, but this is what it looks like in the square version. And the same thing when I rotate it over to the hexagonal view, you'll see this is what it's looking like here in the six-fold symmetry. And the pentagonal view here as well, five-fold symmetry. So I guess, does anybody, you know, in your mind right now, what form is this, or what couple forms or few forms is it that I'm looking at? You might want to write it down or hold it in your mind, because we're going to stop this share right now. I'm going to switch over to the Zomepad here. And that's this one. Okay, so you should be seeing one of those views. This is that hexagonal perspective that I was just describing, and this is a one-for-one accuracy compared to what I was just showing you. You know, I built this 3D model of this, or started to, but ran out of pieces, but this simulator allowed me to build out the rest of it. So this is going to be the real eye-opening, unveiling thing. Well, yes, this is the three-dimensional structure that we were just looking at in those mandala-like patterns. So if I just rotate this a little bit, you can see that all of a sudden I've gone over to the pentagonal perspective, just like that. So there's a Pentagon view from the five-fold symmetry, showing the kind of decagon around here. And that's all it took, was to go from our six-fold symmetry design of the stars, let's line it up again, to that version right there, like that. Pretty neat, huh? And then let's just take a look. If I rotate it this way, boom, one more little rotation, basically all just rotating up and down And we're now in the square view. So those are the three main views that this is. And the structure that you're looking at here is 12 icosahedron that are around one larger icosahedron that is in the center, not the little icosahedron in the middle, but there's one bigger icosahedron that all of these are matching up to the upper vertices of it. So this is one icosahedron off of each of the 12 points is an icosahedron that is off of this larger icosahedron that's in the middle. And these are all in phi relationship, meaning that this large icosahedron that these are off of, these smaller ones, are in phi ratio, so that's why they fit into those mandala patterns. But it also followed the sequence, the drawing sequence that I was working with in the building sequence. This is just kind of the way that they wanted to orient themselves or position themselves. And here it almost looks like in this decagon view, the pentagonal view, that there's one icosahedron that's in the middle, and I could build that, but then you would lose all the symmetry of where these other ones, if these actually were adjacent and built off of these vertices, it would bring the whole outer form in closer. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. This is like Mandala 3D version, and you can see how it just snaps into the three main views that I often work with in the square view version, the hexagon view. One more time, see if I lined up for you. Well, there's the pentagonal view, and all I have to do is just skip back one and skip forward, and we'll be back at the hexagon view. So once again, 12 icosahedron around one. This is a very, very different design, a very different model than the 12 around one that would be based on the cube octahedron, for instance, which is all cubical. And cubes, you can look at each of these hexagon as a cube, but in this version of the icosahedrons, yes, it's still a hexagon, but the way that they're arranged is 12 around a one, and it's holding that symmetry of 12 icosahedron around a central one with the smaller one in the center, all in phi proportion to one another. Okay, so let's hop out of this. I hope you enjoyed checking that out from those different angles. Really, I still am just so enamored with that program and the ability it gives me to turn my drawings that I've been sharing with you into these three-dimensional objects to move around, because you may have a greater sense and appreciation of these geometric structures or these designs that I've been sharing with you, that they are the fundamental patterns of three-dimensional forms. So let's just go through each of these by themselves one at a time. So here's the 12 icosahedron around one from the square view. So this is the layout of that design pattern that also is overlaid. This is from the Zome tool model here, Zomepad. Here is again is the icosahedron from the hexagonal view, the 12 around the one. You know, when I looked at this, it's actually a kind of new way to even create the tree of life pattern if you wanted to. You as a 2D flat design, but this is now icosahedrons. They're not actually stacked on one another. You can see there's space between them. But if we were looking at this 2D, this would be one hexagon, another hexagon, and then we create that triangle that would actually come and touch the base of the smaller icosahedron. And you can join these all together, like we've seen Nassim Harriman's work, where he takes the cube octahedron and the tree of lives and put them together in this way. Well, you could essentially do this with the icosahedron, except they're just really different looking on the three-dimensional perspective. So yeah, check this one out. I want to know that question. How do you like these patterns and which ones really resonate with you? Of course, icosahedron symmetry is very much about the pentagon, so it's strongly related to this view, which just the radial symmetry of 10 decagon just fits perfectly with the pentagon structure that the icosahedron is built around, because it's a 20-sided form that has pentagons within it that create the triangular faces that we're looking at here. So you're looking through this structure and seeing the lines on the back side of it as well. Remember this little icosahedron in the middle, is the same size as these, but this is the one up above and below. So this is a vertex view, just like if you're looking at a cube from above in Metatron's cube, for instance, this would be like looking at the vertex of an icosahedron rather than a cube. And, you know, picture an apple or picture a flower. Like this is the torus flow that I perceive it to be through this structure, or even the pentagon structure that's around the Earth. Buckminster Fuller and other researchers have put the icosahedral symmetry around the Earth, with the vertice being at the top of the pole, north and south poles. Okay, so I got a little creative with these, just quickly colored these in just to give you a little more flavor. I tried to use the same color palette. I'm not an expert with color at all, but I just gave a little bit more to kind of let you feel into these designs and patterns and which one really speaks to you. They're just beautifully, all of them are just phenomenally built around the phi ratio, you know, all the divisions of the lines. We've got the golden rhombuses in the middle here, meaning that the length, if this were 1 inch, this would be 0.618 inches across there. And then of course, you know, we've got division of phi lines all throughout, here to here, phi ratio, here to here, phi ratio. It's just phenomenal structure. This length from here to there's phi ratio. So, you know, just have fun if you've got phi calipers, or just soaking in phi ratio. I'm not trying to say with my video here that one is better than the other. I love all the perspectives. They each give me something interesting to learn about. And they're also, you know, different feeling they give me each time I work with them too. So here's the colored in version of the snowflake pattern. And in fact, when I was working with this, I was like, well, here's an icosahedral version of a snowflake. The hexagon structure is all within this. I'm sure if we carved out some edges on this, we can create a very elaborate snowflake patterning here, which is really different to think about a snowflake based on the icosahedrons rather than kind of the hexagon cube structure, which doesn't have the phi ratio involved in it, where the icosahedron is all about phi ratio. So here's another snowflake pattern. This is the same one I said you could turn into these icosahedral trees of life coming together. And, you know, when you look at something like this, and this is what I hope you'll appreciate from this video, is we tend to look at this as kind of a flat image, you know, just an interesting design to meditate on. Maybe you like this design, you know, you meditate on this and it's looking flat, but I just showed you, if we move this around in your mind's eye or in that Zomepad, you could see that this is 12 icosahedron here, and you can actually see all 12 in this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the 12, and then there's another 6 around. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. So the dark blue hexagons here are each one of the icosahedron in the whole pattern, and there's actually no icosahedron of that size within the middle. These are built off of a larger icosahedron that is in the central space here, and you have to meditate on that to find out what that is. And then here's the one little heart-centered icosahedron that was at the middle of the whole structure. This one is in phi relationship to this one, and these are in phi relationship to the larger one. It's just a beautiful geometric wonder that of all these phi relationships in these forms. Okay, here's the last one. You know, this is probably the most straightforward of them, the less busy. Probably the easiest one for me to color in, obviously, was this one. This one took a little bit more thought. It has a nice pattern that goes along with it. You could see the pentagon structure showing up here on that one there, and you can also see the pentagon over here, and pentagons and decagons throughout the whole thing. Each of these little ones over here are all icosahedrons. The littler one, the bigger icosahedron, is right in here, the tips of the green. And then this one is the icosahedrons that's at the top of the structure and the bottom of the structure. So yes, another interesting pattern that you know, may resonate with you. The most complex one to color in, of course, was this one. There's just a lot of crisscross of lines, but once again, the phi ratio divisions throughout are all amazingly congruent in all that chaos, the crisscross of lines. And I didn't even put the circle patterns in there. Let me just, before we go to this last one, just show you the circle patterns, because I didn't just draw these. I did draw these on a computer, but I didn't have the computer do them for me. These are all drawings that you can do with hand-drawn compass and straight edge. So every pattern that I just showed you, you could, if you desired to, like I teach in my apprenticeships and Patreon, how to draw. You could draw these, and I love sharing with people how to draw these as well. So those are the three templates that these geometric patterns were created from. So here's all three, and I'll put these three images, probably, I don't know if I'll be able to do that with the poll, but I'm going to put the poll in there. So if after you viewed this, let me know which of these three are your most, that you enjoy the most: the two-fold, six-fold, also called the three-fold symmetry, depending on how many folds you want to do from the hexagonal plane. We've also got the Pentagon view. So yeah, just take this last slide in. Which view do you resonate with the most? And I'll be posting that question, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this, because I'm always interested to see how these images resonate with us and speak to us in different ways. So thanks so much for joining me for that quick video. I hope you really appreciated moving the objects around three-dimensionally, seeing that those flat 2D mandalas are these 3D icosahedral structures. So yes, if you are interested in more that I'm sharing with sacred geometry, I'm putting out videos pretty regularly, nearly weekly. So please subscribe. And if you're interested in wanting to learn to draw patterns just like this, or you've already been drawing for a while and want to try some new KNEW geometry techniques, check out my apprenticeship at my website. I'm also have a Patreon set up where I'm meeting, weekly, not weekly, monthly, with a small group there that's developing, or join the New Geometers Facebook group. So thanks for watching. Much love and appreciation. Until next time, I'll see you then. Peace.